Hey guys, so today I'm gonna do just a makeup basics kind of tips, things I've learned along the way, basically meant for the beginner, because a lot of people, when I asked what I should film, they said I need to know a little bit of everything. I don't know where to start, so I thought I would do just a basic face. Something that, you know, if you are just getting into makeup, what you might want to start doing, adventuring out into to really get the feel of how to do your foundation, mascara, you know, a little bit of eyeshadow, things like that. So hopefully you'll learn a little something along the way, and let's get started. And first off, I don't know if you can see this, but please excuse all of this that you see right here. I did my eyebrows yesterday, and curse of the fair skin, sensitive skin, whatever have you. Anytime I wax my brows, it just goes "Ugh!" and gets so angry at me and breaks out for a few days afterwards. So no matter what I do, that's just what I gotta deal with. So just ignore that. Looking like I'm 13 again. Anyway, so you want to always start with primer. Whatever primer you want. This one's from Milani. You can get it at, you know, any drugstore, Target, whatever. And it just really gets your face even, helps the makeup last longer. Just rub it on your fingers and start applying it to your skin. So now that that's done, we're going to move on to foundation. And this is mine. I'm using the Diorskin Forever. I don't know. It's expensive. I got it because that's what all the beauty people were saying to get on YouTube, and you know, I do whatever they say. But really, honestly, I love it. And it is worth the price in my opinion, but that's because I really like doing this stuff and I use it. So, but one of my favorite drugstore brands is the Maybelline Fit Me matte. That's what I had been using until I needed a new shade and thought I'd splurge and get the Dior. So I just put it on my fingers and put it on my face. I usually like to use a brush, and it's just a big, fat, fluffy, well, not too fluffy, big, fat brush. It's just good to get a lot of area covered. You can also use a beauty blender, a makeup sponge of some sort. This is a Real Techniques one. You can use that. Just make sure it is damp. So wring it under the faucet, get it nice and big and wet. Anyway, get it nice and damp, and then just wring it out in a towel, and then it'll be nice and damp, and you can just boop, 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 boop. But I like to use a brush just because that's what I started doing. If you do like this, if you pounce, if you stipple, whatever, that really pushes the foundation into your skin and will make it last long. To be quite honest, I don't do that most of the time. I just want to get it on quick because 9 times out of 10 I am in a big time crunch, and I just work it usually in like circular motions on my skin. So you just want to blend, 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 blend. Make sure you blend down into your neck. It's one of the things that, you know, probably one of the first things you learn when doing makeup. You don't want to stop right here and have that line of, oh look, she's wearing a mask of makeup. Okay, so now that our foundation is all blended in and we have a nice even complexion now, we want to move on to concealer. I'm going to be using the Tarte Shape Tape concealer, kind of just like the Dior foundation. I got it because that's what everybody was using and they were saying it was amazing. It is. Don't get me wrong, it is amazing, but it's a little pricey. You can also use the Maybelline Fit Me concealer. It's pretty much just as good. It's not as full coverage as the Tarte Shape Tape, but it works just as well. The only reason I stopped using this one is because I had started using an eye cream to kind of help with the getting close to 30 stuff. And for some reason, it did not react well with my eye cream. It hated it and it burned like crazy. So I went out trying to find something different, and this one worked just fine for me. So that's what I will be using today. This is full coverage. You don't want to use too much. I'm just going to do like a little line here, a little line here. And as you can see, it's a little lighter than the rest of my skin. It's nice and will help you look more awake and refreshed. If under eye is a little bit lighter, you just want to bring some highlight there. But to balance that all out, I usually put a little bit on my nose, a little bit in the center of my forehead, a little bit on my chin. I get a lot of redness right around here. I think all women do. So I'll put a little bit there. Also, I'm going to try to hide a little bit of these angry brows. And then I also will use this to prime my eyes for eyeshadow later. So take your damp beauty sponge, and I like to use the pointed side because it can get up in the, crevices wherever you need to go, and just pat. You want to pat down a little bit into the corner and then up. You want to make like a little triangle like that, kind of. You also don't want to pat in just one direction. You want to go both in to out and out to in. That should help it help limit the creasing that you can get settling into those lines and everything down there. The whole damp sponge thing is really a game changer. It makes everything look so flawless and natural, and it's just really easy to use. You can't really mess up when you have a damp beauty sponge. Alright, so it looks like I'm pretty much blended in. My face should start looking a little more awake, a little more like I had, a full 8 hours of sleep last night. So the next thing you want to do is set your under eye. You always want to set your under eye because that will keep it from creasing. I'm using the Mercier translucent powder. And drop my sponge. And so I'm just dabbing it in there a little bit and just putting it right under my under eye. I'll also put it on my lid to help set that and get that ready for eyeshadow as well. I always do that, even if I'm not doing a ton of eyeshadow. Like today, I won't be doing a ton. But one thing I've learned is that stuff like powders, like eyeshadow, will sit better and blend better if they're laid on top of a powder as opposed to laying straight on top of your liquid products. So that is one of the little tips I've learned. You always want to do creams and liquids first. Do creams and liquids first and then do your powders. So I would not go back in now that I've done all of that. I would not go back in and put more concealer on top of that. You want to get all that stuff done first because you will look like a cakey mess if you're going creams to powders to creams to powders to creams. It'll just all sit on top of each other and just not look good. Okay, so now that all that's set, I'm going to move on to eyes. And I'm just going to do something very minimal. You don't have to know really anything about eyeshadow in order to do this. I'm going to take, I got this for my birthday from Ulta, my little free gift. It's just a NYX eyeshadow palette. And I'm going to take a shade almost identical to my skin tone. And I'm going to take a natural haired brush. This one's by Morphe. It's the M441. It's fluffy. It's a little tapered at the top. A natural hair brush will kind of eat your product a little bit, and so when you're applying it, it'll apply it a lot lighter, not in color, just in application. It'll apply less product, and you won't have that issue of being too heavy-handed right up front. It's much easier to blend and things like that, so I always suggest using a natural hair brush, especially if you're beginning, so you don't deal with that issue of putting way too much product on right at the beginning. And so I'm just going to dab it in there and tap off the excess. And I'm going to start putting this in my crease a little tiny little bit above, just in this transition area. The transition area is between your brow bone and your lid, just right in here, this middle section. I'm going to do windshield wiper motions, just back and forth. And then I'm going to do circular motions just to help blend it a little bit. All this is doing is just adding a little bit of definition to the eye. It really looks like there's pretty much nothing there, but it's just adding a little more, you know, a little more definition, so it doesn't look quite so bare. So that's all I'm going to do with that. Now, I personally like to add a little bit of liner to my eyes because I really like for that part, my eyelashes really to pop. And so what I do, if I'm going really natural, or, you know, if I'm not in the mood to take the time to go through liquid eyeliner, I just use eyeshadow. I'm using just a stiff definer brush. It's flat, it's straight. You can also use an angled brush, just anything that has a thin line and is very stiff. So I'm going to go back into this NYX palette, and I'm going to take this dark kind of burgundy, purplish, reddish shade right here. I think it's beautiful. And I'm just going to dab just the very top part of the brush into there. And I'm just going to stamp it right along my lash line. Just right there where the lashes come out. And this is honestly, in my opinion, the easiest way to get that look of a fuller lash line. Okay, so there we go. We just added a little something extra to the eyes by doing that. The next thing I'm going to be doing is lashes. If I'm wearing any sort of makeup at all, I will always curl my lashes and use mascara. That's just me. My lashes stick straight down. They do not curl naturally on their own at all. So if I want my eyelashes to even be visible, I have to use an eyelash curler and waterproof mascara, because if you didn't already know, waterproof will help you hold the curl, whereas non-waterproof will just kind of let them fall back down. The magic voodoo that waterproof has in it to keep it from washing off will also help keep its shape. So I'm using just a Revlon curler, and I'm using the L'Oreal Voluminous Carbon Black Mascara, waterproof. So I just put this at the base of my lashes, give it a few little pumps, and work it out a little bit while pumping. Next I do my lashes and mascara. You just start at the base and kind of wiggle it up. And then always do your lower lash line. It might seem weird, but it really helps to finish framing your eye. If you don't put anything on your lower lash line, it's just going to look really blank and unfinished. So that's one eye. And I'm just going to do the same thing over here. So now that the eyes are all done, the next thing we're going to do is put on a little bit of blush. I'm going to use a NYX blush, just the NYX High Definition blush. This is one of my favorite blushes. Obviously, you could tell since I've already hit pan on it. This one is in the shade Hamptons, and I just love it. It works great for my skin tone. It's a nice, you know, pinky blush, but not too overpowering. And, I mean, any fluffy brush will do. This is the blush brush I'm using. It's from Morphe. Actually, I don't think this is a blush brush. I think this is a contour brush. But it works for me. But any big fluffy brush will work. You want to be applying it to your cheekbone. Your cheekbone is not right here, okay? You do not want to have two spots of blush right here. We're not going for the porcelain doll or the jigsaw effect right here. You want to be adding it just to this part of your cheek, and you want to be going all the way up to your hairline. Obviously, more product will be down here, and then just as you're adding it, kind of fade it up into there, and that will give you the best look for your blush. I love these NYX blushes. They're so pigmented. So I always start really light and then add as I need. Now that that is all done, the last thing you need to do is just do your lips. You could do whatever you want, and so you could just use some chapstick, you could use lipstick, whatever you want. I'm just going to use a lip gloss. This is the NYX Butter Gloss. It's in the shade Eclair. It's a nice pinky, like bubblegum pink gloss. I like these NYX Butter Glosses. They have pigment in them, but they're pretty sheer, so I like to wear them on top of lipsticks. I like to wear them by themselves. It's just a little extra something to add. So that completes our makeup look. Hopefully you learned something. Maybe you learned a tip or two here and there that you didn't know before. This is, you know, a pretty easy basic look for somebody who's, you know, brand new to makeup, just learning how to do the basic things on how to look a little more put together in the mornings. And if you liked what you saw, please subscribe, and please leave me a comment, leave me some love, let me know what you want to see next, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.